So hello and welcome back to the very first episode of the Stevens Four Wheels podcast. Now, so the very first episode, I have done an episode as a sort of trial on my YouTube channel for about a year or so ago now, but I want to get properly back into the world of podcasts, so I actually can start from scratch again. Now, hopefully you're listening to either on my YouTube channel, or I am going to hopefully, I haven't quite sorted it out yet, but this will be available on Spotify, Amazon and Apple podcasts as well. So hopefully if you're listening to this on one of that, I've been successful in that. But anyway, let's get on with the actual podcast. And first I want to introduce myself. Now, I know quite a few people have come over probably from my YouTube channel or my Instagram, one of my other socials. But I just want to quickly introduce myself in case you've actually come over from one of the podcast platforms. My name is Stephen. I run a channel called Stevens Four Wheels now. I run a channel on YouTube, uploading once a week currently. But I also do obviously my Instagram as well, Facebook. So you might come over from that. Probably enjoy people coming from my YouTube channel. So what's Stevens Four Wheels all about? Well, it's all about showing my passion for cars. I've been a car enthusiast ever since before I can remember. Started out with little toy cars, and now the cars have got quite bigger and a lot more expensive. So currently I have a daily driver B-Class, a B180 CDI. Fantastic big box on wheels, nice and cheap to run, very economical. So that's my daily. I also have the £500 SLK, which I purchased about 3 and a bit years ago. Just over 3 years ago. It's 3 years in November. Yes, so it's pretty much just over 3 years ago. So it's an SLK 1999 230 compressor pre-facelift, silver with black leather, and I purchased this for just £500 now. Admittedly, did need a few bits doing to it, but it's now a really nice, really well sorted car. And my final car that I own is a R107 380 SL from 1985. That's just celebrated its 40th birthday. I've owned that for just over 2 years. It's a lovely car. It has cost me an awful lot of money, as you will see in an upcoming YouTube episode. But yes, it is a lovely car, and it is one of my dream cars. And that particular one is in a lovely dark metallic red, a lovely cream leather interior. So that's just a quick little introduction to myself in case you've come over on the podcast platforms and haven't come across me before. So let's get into the podcast then. So this is a first of the podcast. Hopefully I'm doing it every other Monday. So it can be fortnightly, every other week, whichever way you want to slice your bread. And this is the first one. So I wanted to get the introduction out of the way. Generally, a little bit of a talk about 3 or 4 different topics on each podcast. And it'd be great if you want to comment either on YouTube or on the podcast platform, whatever you want to do, or get in touch with me. If you have any questions or anything you want to share, you can email me on hello@stevensforwards.co.uk. So I'm going to start off, hopefully, every podcast with a little bit of what I have been up to recently. Well, today I filmed 2 episodes for my YouTube channel. I've got to edit them a little bit. And I thought, while I'm at it, let's have a complete Stevens Forwards day where I've got a day free. And I'm going to do this podcast and hopefully get a podcast done. I'm being slightly ambitious. I want to get 2 done, but I think I'll be slightly ambitious. And as again, every other week, I've got a bit of time to go and film another one. So recently, I haven't done too much with the cars. It's November and the weather sort of turned now. It's really nice October, and I started to get the cars out quite a bit. But the weather has turned now here in the UK, and they've started putting salt down on the roads now. So I don't really want to take either the SLK or the SL out. Other than that, I've been away in November a little bit as well, just over a week in Dubrovnik in Croatia, which is really nice, really enjoyable. I did see a R170 SLK over there, a 200 compressor, which I'm quite excited about because we didn't have the 200 compressor here in the UK. On the pre-facelift, we only had the 230 compressor as an auto. That's all you could get in this country. And I did do a 200 compressor and a 200 uncompressor, or a non-compressor. I don't know which way you want to say that. So yes, that was nice over there. The AMG 5-spoke alloys on there as well. So next thing I want to talk about, this is something that I saw a few weeks back now. You may have seen the SL shop, not necessarily advertising, it isn't actually for sale, but they've been promoting the fact that they've just purchased a 42-mile from new R107 SL. It's a 500 SL, I believe it's 1982. I'm trying to look at the article here. Yes, purchased in 1982, and it was basically it's one owner from new, except he never actually registered it. So I don't know if he's technically an owner of the car, never actually been registered. I don't know quite how that works. But anyway, the gentleman bought the SL from dealership in Wolverhampton and delivered to his home. It's then been kept under a cover in a dehumidified and heated garage for private viewings only, and that's been since 1982. So it's never actually seen the road, this car. And you look at the video on there, if you search SL Shop, and it'll be on their YouTube channel. I recommend you watch the video on that. And it's still got all the original markings. There's still some like stickers on there and everything, there's chalk marks. There's everything that how it was at the factory. And it's just such an absolute time warp. And I don't think my description really does it justice. If you do get a chance, go to the SL Shop YouTube channel and have a look. I'm not all being paid to promote this at all. I just think it's a really cool car and a really cool story behind this. They've said they're not going to be selling it. They're going to be preserving it at the SL Shop. And when you go to the SL Shop, they do some events. They'll probably have it on display, I would imagine. Really interesting car. I mean, it's obviously people have been asking what's something like it worth, and there isn't really anything else out there. The closest example, according to the SL Shop, was a 1989 Signal Red 560 SL with 122 miles on there, which sold last year for $260,000. Oh, blimey, okay, so that's quite a bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's an odd one to put a price on, isn't it, really? Because I know SLs have been going over the £100,000 mark for a really not low mileage example, but I don't think we've ever seen one that's as well preserved as it came from the factory as. It's such a unmolested example. It's never seen a set of number plates, never been registered on the road. Fantastic, really great story as well. So I can't imagine there's that many other SLs like it. I don't think, certainly not in this article, meaning the SL Shop at the moment, there's not any other car like it. So that's absolutely fascinating. And I suppose it's an interesting story. We always talk about stories of cars being used and cars having owners and going out and about and going on road trips and whatever else you do with your cars. But we never actually talk about a car that's actually just lived a life by not doing anything. Normally, you cars are out and about, as I've just said. But yeah, this car's been locked away almost in a garage. Some people might think it's a shame, but then some people might say it's fascinating because you didn't get to see a car as it pretty much came from the factory. And surely it's got to be a unique car, or certainly can't be that many of us out there. Maybe one or two other cars like it. I don't know if Mercedes themselves own anything like that. I don't know what happens at the first SL and the last 107 SL that was produced, maybe. I don't know. So, fascinating stories. I head over to the SL Shop website, and the article on there, and I also have a really good video on their YouTube channel. Thoroughly recommend you watch if you get the chance. So, while we're talking about cars that are very pampered, I thought it would be a good chance and a good segue over to the time when I was a concours judge. I'm not a big concours fan. I must admit, I'm not really a big concours show sort of fan. I think cars should be used. I think they should be enjoyed. And if they pick up a little bit, a few marks here and there, oh well. It shows the car's lived a life. That's what side I'm on. But on the other hand, I can also appreciate the amount of work and effort that people put in to keep their cars looking factory fresh almost. And sometimes, when cars have been fully restored and people have poured absolute hours in, they're probably better than they actually were when they were new. I mean, think of sort of British Leyland cars from the 70s. They're probably better bought now by restorers than they were when they were actually new. And I suppose this is where this 42-mile R107 comes in, because it's a car that's never really been used, never seen the road. And I think, if that was entered as a concours, surely that would absolutely win with full marks almost. I can't think of a single reason why you wouldn't mark it down. So I used to be part of the Mercedes-Benz Club. One of the things I volunteered for was to become a concours judge. They used to have a national concours, very prestigious event in the club show calendar, and I went along and I actually was a judge for the day. First time being a judge at anything like this. I have been to the concours before, but just not as a visitor, not actually as a judge. and I actually really enjoyed the day. I was paired with someone else who'd done it before, so a more experienced person, and it was really good because he knew a lot more about the classics. I knew a lot more about newer cars, so it was interesting that we were able to sort of get quite nerdy about cars, and I learnt stuff and he learnt stuff off me, and you know, we sort of really quite well, we worked well together. Really enjoyed the day, I say, really good experience, and I can see why people get into the concours. I was judging the enthusiast class, which is the sort of entry level class, so it's meant for sort of ordinary club members that come in and they can display their cars there. And I think I got told I was quite a harsh judge, and I don't know. I think the main reason, because I think for me, it was some of the detailing wasn't very good on the cars. You know, the condition was good on there, but I remember seeing this 204 facelift C-Class coupe. Really nice car. I think it was the Cavern Sight Blue, or Cavern Sight Blue as I called it. Really nice. I can't remember if it was a black interior or a cream interior, but anyway, really nice looking car it was. But it was let down by the sunroof now, and a panoramic sunroof on there, so you can imagine it's got a glass panel, and then there's some like sills around the outside of the glass, and they're in little crevices tucked away, a little bit difficult to get with. But anyway, all in there, it was all moss and algae and stuff, and it just ruined the look of the car. You sort of take as, you know, your head, that's about head height, so you're sort of looking down at the roof and thinking, oh, this needs a good clear out. And all I'd just recommend is just getting a pre-cleaner, or you could get a waterless wash, just spray it in there, leave it to soak for a few minutes, and you could get a paintbrush, obviously not a used one, obviously. Get a paintbrush, or I have some detailing brushes, and all I would do, just go through it and just give it a little white bit of brush out, and that should get rid of the stuff. Now, whether I recommend getting a really powerful jet wash on that, because obviously they are rubber seals, I wouldn't necessarily recommend going full blast with a very powerful jet wash. You could just use a watering can, to be honest, just to get the stuff out, or you could use a jet wash, but really be, you know, back at a distance and not spray directly at it, just try and do around it, and that would take really about 5-10 minutes of that. If you've got your jet wash out, you know, you've got all your equipment out, you don't really, it wouldn't take you an extra time, just something to do in addition to what you're doing when you're cleaning the car. There was people without tyre shine, and the tyres had a little bit of mud up the tyre wall, and it just, you know, it let it down for me. So I don't think I was necessarily harsh in terms of condition of cars. I will accept that these cars probably use either daily or they're weekend cars for the people that own them, and I can accept there's little bits on there. But what I picked up on, me being quite particular about detailing, was just some of the little details and just some of the little bits and pieces I'd get that done. I think one car, paint was quite swirly, and I thought you could at least do something for that. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on this, but I just felt it was more the detailing side of things that I was a little bit picking up on a few bits on there. So yeah, really, really interesting. Good day out. I learned quite a bit, and I think the gentleman who was with also learned quite a bit. But yeah, interesting experience. So moving on to a car, certainly not concours edition, my own SLK. Not mean to say it's a bad car. It's a very nice car. It's very nice blended. I've worked out how much that car cost me recently, and I did this for a YouTube video, and I thought it'd be interesting to talk a little bit more about that on here as well. So the figure it came to, the total amount of money I spent on the SLK, is £3,336.33. I'm slightly annoyed that it wasn't £3 less, so it could have been all the threes. I got a random 6. But anyway, moving back a step, I decided recently for a YouTube video it'd be interesting to work out how much I spent on the SLK. Now I went through, looked at the cost of the car, went through all the individual items. That's quite a good bit of a trip down memory lane. Some of the bits I'd sort of forgotten about it, and one of the things I'd forgotten about was actually I did buy a new battery for the car. It wasn't until sort of totted everything else up, and I said, well, I didn't have a new battery, and you know, because I've had that car for 3 years now. You do forget what you've done to a car, particularly when you've got lots of little bits and pieces. And anyway, so I totted it up, all servicing, all the MOTs, any parts that I bought for the car. And I ended up with, as I say, a figure of £3,336 now. There's sort of two ways to look at this. I've spent well over £3,000 on this car. on this SLK, and it is only worth £2,000 to £2,500. So I probably would have to lose at least, well, about £1,000, depending on obviously the figure that I sold it for. But then also, I do believe that SLKs are incredibly underrated, and I also think they're incredibly undervalued as well. Now, I've done YouTube episodes on this where I discuss why they're so cheap, and there's a few different reasons for it. I won't go into it here, it might be a topic for another day. And I know that I'm going to lose a load of money on it, but the sort of flip side of that is actually for £3,300, I've got a really tidy and really well sorted little SLK that I know I can enjoy for a bit of summer fun. So that's the side I'm coming on, more than the fact that I'm going to lose money if I did sell it. I don't think I'm going to sell the SLK. It's one of those, if I want to keep the 3 cars now, and I'm quite happy with the 3 cars I've got, and I feel like I'm very lucky to have those 3 cars. But if I was to buy another car, one would have to go. The B Class is too useful. I haven't finished with the SL, so that leaves the SLK. So yeah, I'd have to sell the SLK, but whether I want to stomach a near, £500,000 loss, I think the only other way I could make up a little bit of money on it is I would take the 3-spoke alloys off and sell those separately, because find another. I did have someone recently, on a slight tangent here, send me an auction listing for a car auction over somewhere in the east of the country. Can't remember where it was now. With an SLK fitted with the same 3 spokes, and so the only ever one I've ever actually seen that someone sent me, look, here's an actual physical car, other than a random picture online of like a show car or whatever, one that says using the books in the catalogues to sell the car. So yes, so I could take off the 3 spokes. I reckon I'd probably ask for about £500 for them, to be honest, on their own without tyres. I don't know if that's good, if that's bad. I haven't seen another set for sale. I probably would make my money back on that as well, because I'd said this, I did mine for £180, and my partner bought them for me technically, so I haven't actually included that in my costs. But I did have to swap the tyres over. It was £81 labour down the garage, and the wheel refurbished £280. So I'm probably, if I sold for £500, I wouldn't actually making that much money of them. Plus, I've got to pay another £81 to put the old alloys back on the car. So I think I would probably do that, and that's one way I could claim back a little bit of money. So let's finish off with talking about what's coming up on Stevens Forward. So this week we have a monthly update for November. There's not been that much going on with the car directly, but there are a few things that I talk about in this video this week. Give you a little bit of an update on the car, what's going on with them. I always like to do that at the end of each month. But yeah, not a lot going on with the car, but there's more updates about what I'm doing next year, and there's some updates about what I'm planning on doing on the channel, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that'll be coming up soon. Then I say the week after that, I have the SL, of owning the SL. So everything that I've done with the SL, and I've had stuff done to it and all that. So yeah, surprising figure. Probably quite a similar story to the SLK. So whenever I'm sort of talking to people about my cars, and I'm saying what cars I've got, I often say, oh, my R170 SLK, that cost £500. My R107 SLK didn't cost me £500. So later in the month, I've been asked if I could do another video on my partner's W204 C-Class, and that just ticked over to 100,000 miles. So I think I might possibly do a view of the car now it's done 100,000 miles sort of thing. Just over, probably going to be 100,500 by the time I get round to filming it. But I think that would be nice. So I haven't done a video on her C-Class for absolute ages now. It's probably been a good 6-7 months. So I'll have to go back and have a look, actually. I can't remember the last video I did. I think I did a buyer's guide, possibly. So coming up as well, I'm possibly going to try and fit an SLK video in there. I'm thinking of doing something along the lines of looking at the future of the R170 SLK, maybe have a look at where values are going, maybe have a look at the rarity of them, maybe which cars are going to be worth the most. It might be quite a bit pure speculation, because I haven't got a blooming clue, as in most things in life. I haven't got a clue where the R170 SLK will be going, but it'd be nice to sort of compare it to prices of like Porsches, and those videos always do quite well. People quite like them, and I think one of my most commented videos was actually looking at a topic where I discussed why are the R170 SLKs worth so little. And obviously, it's different in other countries, and I can't really speak for every other country out there in their market. And I know in mainland Europe, a lot of the SLKs actually worth quite a bit more than they are over here in the UK. So I bought my SLK for just £500. Bearing in mind that was a running driving car. It had 6-7 months on the MOT as well. So it wasn't as though I bought a complete project car. It was a bit of a project car, but it was a running driving car. It wasn't as though I drove off in that car. I drove it home. I didn't need to go and get traded back home. You know what I mean? It started, it drove it. Yeah, it had its issues, but there was nothing there that stopped it from me driving it home and feeling unsafe in it. So that's what's coming up on the channel over the next sort of month or so, and then we're at the end of December. It's scary how quickly this year has gone. So just before we finish, I just want to quickly mention that Stevens Ford does have its own merch shop, which I never ever mention, never ever promote, because I'm a bit too shy. I don't really like to push my own merch. I don't know why. I think it's like vulgar to push your own stuff, but everyone else seems to. So anyway, I do have my own merch shop. We have 2 sizes of stickers on there, so the Stevens Ford logo sticker, and then also have the Stevens Ford logo keyring as well on there, which is made of a sort of PVC sort of plastic, rubbery material. I will have to have a look. I can't remember what it's made from now. But yes, it's really good, so it doesn't knock against the dash. So you put your car keys in the dash, it doesn't knock against it. I don't like metal ones or plastic ones that are really hard and they hit the dash. That noise annoys me, so that's why I wanted to go for this sort of rubbery one. So anyway, all the items include postage, so small stickers are £4, large stickers are £6, keyrings are £6 as well. So head over to the Stevens Four Wheels merch shop, or you go over to www.stevensforwheels.co.uk. It's a link to the merch shop on there, so thank you very much. So thank you for being with me on this first podcast. I'm trying to get the podcast to about somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes. Obviously, some days there will be more. I'm talking about some days there'll be less. So just gauging how many topics I need to talk about while I'm planning these out. I'm just doing a little bare bones structures now I'm talking about. So thank you for being with me on that. Hopefully you enjoyed the first podcast. I'm going to try and finish each podcast with a fact of the podcast. And today's fact is that the R170 SLK has the exact same wheelbase size as the 190 SL, so from the 1950s and early 60s. And the size of that, just for your fact here, was 94.5 inches. So there you go. If you ever win a pub quiz now, based on that question, you know to give me half of the prize money. So thank you very much for listening. I almost said watching then. You're not actually watching this, are you? Unless you're on YouTube, but you can't actually see me. So thank you very much for listening to the first Stevens Forward podcast. And hopefully I'll see you again very soon. The next one will be in 2 weeks' time, unless you're listening to this after that 2 weeks, in which case you can go and listen to the next one straight away. Of course, I know all of you want to immediately. So anyway, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye from me, and we'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.